Good morning, everyone. All right, how many of you guys like Thanksgiving? Raise your hand if you guys like Thanksgiving. Okay, what is your favorite thing about Thanksgiving? What do you like about Thanksgiving? What's that? Just shout it out. What do you like about Thanksgiving? Family? Keep going. Food, eating. What? Corn? Corn food? Okay. What else? Anything else? I looked up, what was that? Break? Yeah, break, right? So I went on the internet and I found, obviously it's not like an official survey or a list or something like that, but one person at least said, these are 5 things I really like about Thanksgiving. And I think most of you guys said the same thing. The first thing they said, the thing that they like about Thanksgiving is food, number 1. Okay. Number 2 is time off work and school. Okay, Freddie said that, right? Number 3, non-stop football. Yeah, some of you guys watch football all day long. Okay, some of you guys did. Number 4, shopping. Black Friday. How many of you guys went Black Friday shopping? Some of you guys? Okay. Or Cyber Monday is coming up soon. Okay, so there's a season where there's a lot of sale going on. And then number 5, more food. Okay? So it's Thanksgiving, okay? And I was thinking about this, okay? The word itself says what? Things, and then you're giving, okay? So because you are thankful, you want to give something. But I saw this list and I thought, how many of us actually take the time to actually give on Thanksgiving? If anything, it's really interesting. And I'm not trying to make you guys feel guilty or anything, okay? But I thought, wow, it's really, really interesting. It's a season for gratitude. It's things for literally Thanksgiving. And yet we kind of changed it into thanks food, thanks shopping, okay, thanks break. I think we should change the word, the holiday itself to thanks indulging, right? It's a day you just do nothing and relax and watch football and eat and just go shopping. And so I thought it would be a good opportunity for us to actually think about giving, because this is a time of, again, Thanksgiving. What does it mean to be grateful? What does it mean to be actually filled with gratitude? And what does it mean to actually give? And that's what we're going to be talking about today. There's a very interesting Bible verse. Most of us actually, I think we kind of listen to this Bible verse and we're like, okay, yeah. But I don't think we actually, any of us, and maybe some of you guys have experienced it, but at least for me, when I look at this verse, I go, do I really truly believe this? Do I experience this in my life? And it's this verse. The Lord Jesus himself said, it is more blessed to give than to receive. It is more blessed for us to thanks give rather than to thanks receive, thanks eat, thanks shop. Okay, do you guys believe that? Do you guys truly believe that it is actually better for us, it is blessed for us, we're going to be happier if we give rather than to receive? I think most of us, including myself too, I don't know if we actually really believe this. And I think we, obviously we live in the most, materialistic society ever in history, and we have the capacity to actually indulge as much as we can. I'm sure people back in the days, they had the desire to indulge, but they couldn't. They didn't have the internet, or they didn't have 1-day shipping or 2-day shipping, or they didn't have all of this money, but now we do. And so again, it's really difficult to hear something like this in the year 2022. Okay? But I found somebody in the Bible that actually I feel perfectly describes this. This person in the Bible, super duper happy, not because this person received so much, but this person is actually giving out so much, and yet he is filled up with so much happiness and joy. Do you guys know who it is? Any guesses? Except the people who came yesterday, because you guys already know what verse is. Anybody guess? Have you ever seen somebody in the Bible, or maybe not even in the Bible, but even for you personally, have you seen somebody, they gave, and they were so happy giving? We're going to find somebody like this in the Bible. And his name is King David. Okay, in the Old Testament. King David. I'm going to give you kind of a background before we get into this text. Okay? God came to him in a dream and a vision and basically told David, I know that you have peace now, but I want you to build a temple for me, a house for me. Okay? But he says to David, David, your hands, it's full of blood. You killed too many people. So I want your son to do it instead. Okay? So David says, but he's young, he's inexperienced. So I want you to prepare for this building project. Okay? Now, David, King David, he's in his older age. He's going to go in front of the people of Israel. Okay, he's a king, and he's going to go in front of them, and this is what he's going to say. Then King David said to the whole assembly, my son Solomon, the one whom God has chosen, is young and inexperienced. The task is great, but this palatial structure is not for man, but for the Lord God. So he says, this is for God. This is not just for any ordinary people. This is for God. And so this is a very important project, he says. With all my resources, I have provided for the temple of my God, gold, silver, bronze, iron, wood, and all kinds of fine stone and marble. All of this in large quantity. So what does he say? He says, I have all of these resources, and I want to give these resources so that we can make this temple together. He's going to continue. Now, who is willing to consecrate themselves to the Lord today? So he basically says, I want to give because I know this is a great project. Okay? How about you guys? Do you guys want to join in with me? Okay? He doesn't say, hey, you guys are all Israelites, or you guys are all Jewish people. You guys all believe in God. He doesn't guilt them. He doesn't force them. He just says, are you willing to do it? Continues on. The people rejoiced. And there's a couple verses later. People rejoiced at the willing response to their leaders, for they had given freely and wholeheartedly to the Lord. So what do we see? We see David, he's saying, I want to give to this thing. And because of that, all of these different leaders, they all said, you know what? We want to give as well. So all of these people are coming together for this project of the temple, and everybody is giving. And because of that, people are really, really happy. Why? This project, no one's forcing them. Everybody is giving joyously. Let's keep going. David the king also rejoiced greatly. David praised the Lord in the presence of the whole assembly. Now he's praising God. He's talking to God. He's praying to God in front of everybody loudly. And this is what he says. Praise be to you, Lord, the God of our father Israel, from everlasting to everlasting. Yours, Lord, is the greatness and the power and the glory and the majesty and the splendor, for everything in heaven and earth is yours. Yours, Lord, is the kingdom. You are exalted as head over all. Next verse. But who am I? Okay, we're going to come back to this. But who am I? And who are my people? That we should be able to give as graciously as this. Do you see what he's saying? He's saying, oh, who am I? How can I get to give you money, God? I get to give to you? I'm nothing. And I get to give to you? This is not our attitude, right? Our attitude is totally opposite. We go, God, I don't want to give. God, why are you making me give? Why are you making me feel guilty? Why do I feel pressure? Why do I feel like if I don't give, then you're going to not like me or you're going to punish me? That's our attitude. He's the total opposite. You know, when I was reading this for my devotional a couple years back, I was listening to it on audio because I like to walk and listen to it at the same time, you know, like trying to multitask. And then I literally stopped because I could not believe a human being actually said this. I've never heard any human being ever say, who am I that I should serve you? Who am I that I should give you these things? If anything, their attitude is I gave you this, so God, you got stuff you got to give me. Or I give you this, but never, never, ever with such humility. But he says this. Why? Why is he so happy giving? He's like, I'll take out everything from my savings, all my bank account, I'll put it all into this temple service. And I am nothing, but I will still give to you. What's going on here? He says this, everything comes from you. and we have given you only what comes from your hand. We are foreigners and strangers in your sight, as were all our ancestors. Our days on earth are like shadows, without hope. Lord, our God, all this abundance that we have provided for building you a temple for your name comes from your hand, and all of it belongs to you. So there's two things that I think we can learn from David's mentality, the way David is thinking, how I think he was able to, again, joyfully give. Because I think, again, a lot of times, including myself, I don't know if I find myself joyfully giving, joyfully serving people. But here, clearly we see David, he's giving abundantly, and yet there's so much joy in his life. What are the two things? Okay. The first thing is what we see in the previous statement. What does he do in the beginning? He talks about, okay, he used a lot of big words, okay, but he talks about the attributes of God, okay? And we talked about this in previous sermons, but the basic idea is that, does he have a very small God? No, he has a very, very big picture of who God is. Look at some of the words he uses. Everlasting to everlasting. Time does not constrain him. Okay? Greatness, power, glory, majesty, splendor. Okay? What kind of concept does he have of God? Does he have a very small picture of God? A God that you could just fit in your pocket? A God you could just carry around? A God you could tell whatever you want to tell? No. He has a very, very grand conception of God. And I think that is important. Because if we want to give, not give out of guilt, not give out of obligation, not give out of fear or reluctance, but I think if we want to truly give, we have to understand the worth and the grandness of the person who's receiving our gifts. Okay? So what I'm trying to say is the bigger the recipient, the person that we're giving to. So for us, if we want to give to God with a joyful heart, then we need to have a big conception of who God really is. Okay. Now, I'm going to give you guys a human illustration of this. Okay? Because to some degree, we already do this. Some of you guys already do this very, very well. Think of a human person that you really, really respect. Okay? Maybe it's someone from the history, maybe it's somebody who's dead, maybe it's a historical figure, okay? Like Mother Teresa, I don't know, okay? Or it's current figure today, maybe they're very rich, or they're very successful, or they're very giving. Think of whoever. Or for some of you guys, I know some of you guys like K-dramas or K-pop, okay, maybe it's an actor or an actress. Maybe they're beautiful, or maybe they're very handsome, or maybe they're very good at singing, okay? Like BTS, for example, okay? Whoever, I don't know, okay? But think of that one person, okay? Whoever that one person is. And think about you getting a phone call from that one person, whoever that one person or that group is, and they say to you, I want to come to your house, and I want to spend time with you. I want to spend time with you. I want to eat with you, and I want to spend time with you. Okay? What are you thinking in your mind? Okay? So again, it depends. If you have great respect for this person, you go, if I could only shake their hand, I don't even need to have a meal. If I could only shake their hand, or if I could just line up for 1 hour or 2 hours or 3 hours one day to just get into their concert and just like see them sing, okay? And just have their spit land on my face, that would be the greatest delight of my life. Okay? Again, some of you guys are like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And some people, you guys are like, yeah, like that, this one person, okay? Even if they just say my name, I'm done. I'm good. Okay, I could just die now. Okay, why? Okay, what's the psychology? I don't know exactly, but for some reason, humans all have this. We're willing to give. we're willing to sacrifice to even other human beings. Why? Because we, in our mind, they are great to us. They inspire us, they entertain us, they put value into us. And so what happens? The bigger they are, then what happens? Then we feel smaller in front of them. But because of that, what happens to us? We want to actually be a part of their life somehow. And so we want to give. Why? I don't know what the exact psychology is, but maybe it's because we find them so valuable, and when they maybe acknowledge us, maybe we feel accepted. Maybe we feel loved. Maybe we feel like we ourselves are valuable as well. I don't know what the psychology is. Okay? But for David, clearly, that one person, that one thing, his ultimate, like, this is the greatest thing. For him, it's God. And so because of that, he says, who am I that I can even come in front of you? Who are we? We're nothing. And yet, we get to present you. Again, just like a fan. They bake something, a cake, for their celebrity. And they go, who am I that I get to give this to you and you taste it? So again, do you feel like that when you come to God? Do you feel like He is so worthy? Or do you go, oh man, I have to do this for God? Oh, I have to give money? Or oh, I got to come to church, I got to serve? Is that your attitude? Then it's most likely because you have a very small conception of God. Okay? God doesn't mean much to you. There's no devotion. There's no love for God at all. He doesn't mean much. And so therefore, there's not much to give either. But David, clearly we see that he has a very, very grand picture of who God is. And because of that, he says, what I have is nothing. I'll give you more and more and more. So that's number one. If you want to joyfully give, then you have to understand the grandness of the recipient, which is God. Without that, you will never joyfully give. You will always joylessly, out of guilt, out of bitterness perhaps, or out of entitlement, you will always give. That's number one. The second part, he repeats over and over and over again, is this idea that everything comes from God. So not only is God big, but God is also the source of everything as well. He uses a couple of words here. He says, everything comes from you. Okay? I didn't put it here, but he talks about God. Our Israelites, we were a bunch of slaves. We were nothing. And you brought us out. And you gave us this land. David himself, he was the least. He was the youngest brother. He was a shepherd. He's a king now. He knows everything that he has comes from God. So he continues on. Everything comes from your hand, and all of it belongs to you. He understands that everything that he has in his life comes from God. And so because of that, he's able to give back freely and gratefully and with joy. Okay? But most of us, we don't think like this, right? Most of us, we don't think like this in 2022. What do we think? We go, no, this is my money. This is my time. Okay? I decide whatever I want to do. I decide. So when God says, give back tithe, you go, no, this is my money. Okay? Serve the poor, serve the church. No, you go, no, this is my time. I'm going to do whatever I want. Okay? And so we go, I worked hard at this. I went to school. I grinded. I'm working hard. And so this is all my stuff. And in some essence, it is true. Okay, some of you guys work very, very hard for your money. Some of you guys work very, very hard to shape your talents and gifts and tools. Absolutely correct. And yet, at the same time, David is reminding us, don't you understand? Everything that you have, all the substance that you have is actually from God. The talent that you have, the opportunity that you have, your parents that you have, the fact that you were born in the 20th century. Do you understand? All of these things are not things that you could have done better. Okay? You could use the same amount of effort, but if you were born in the 10th century in South Korea, there's nothing you can do to get to where you are, to have the opportunities that you do, to have the capability to make money that you do. Okay? Or even in 2022, if you're born in North Korea, again, you don't have the same opportunities. You can't be rich. Okay? So again, the fact is, if you look at it, if you think deeply upon it, everything that we have, the fact that we live in one of the wealthiest country in the world, and most of us, opportunities are endless. That fact alone, again, we have to realize all of these things actually come from God. If you realize that all of these things come from God, then again, it becomes much easier to actually give. Do you guys know in the Bible, God tells us to give tithe, not because God actually needs money, but He says it. He says so that we are reminded where everything comes from. Okay? So tithe actually is every single month or every single week for some people. It's this process of, okay, I'm recognizing everything actually comes from you. So God actually gives us a system where we are perpetually reminded, okay, everything that I have is God. And God only expects me to return 10% back. Okay? So again, this is the system. We have to understand. It's not God coming to you and you work so hard to do all of this thing and God's trying to say, He's trying to steal all your stuff. Rather, He's the one who gave you all of these things in the first place. Okay? It's like He gave you $1,000. I'll give you a great illustration of this. Before I was a pastor, I was working as a social worker. And I was working with people with autism. Okay? And people with autism, obviously, like the level of their mental capacity is they get stuck at a very young age. So a lot of these are adults, and yet mentally they're stuck at a young age. Okay? So one time, I bought one of my client chicken nuggets because he really liked chicken nuggets. Okay? And then I bought it for him. And then I kind of got hungry and I said, okay, can you give me one? Okay? Guess what he did? He got one nugget, he broke it in half. And then he broke it again, and then he gave me a small piece back. Okay? And I feel like that's what a lot of times our giving looks like. Okay? I'm the one who bought him the whole thing. Okay? I'm the one who provided all of these things for him. And same thing with God. God is the one who has given us so much. And so if you think about what God has given you, not what God is expecting from you, but if you actually think about the 90% that God, the 100% of God, what God has actually given to you, your attitude is not reluctance. Your attitude is not entitlement. Your attitude is not, God, I'm going to give you this much. How much are you going to give me back? It doesn't become a business transaction, but what does it become? It's gratitude. Same thing with our parents as well, right? If our parents come and say, you know, I did all this stuff for you, what are you going to do for me? Again, are we going to give out of gratitude now? No. We're going to be giving out of guilt. We're going to be giving out of reluctance. But again, if parent comes, not come, but if you just recognize, wow, my parents has done all of these things for me, they sacrificed all that time, all that resource for me, then what happens? There's gratitude that happens. And from that, you're able to give freely. Again, this is exactly what we see with David. All of these things, by the way, this is not talking about tithe at all. Okay? Tithe is not an option for Christians. Okay? But this is talking about giving, which is outside of the tithe. Okay? But again, David says, I can give freely. Not because out of guilt, not because out of, again, obligation, not because I'm the king, but because I want to give. Why? Because God has given me so much. So that's the second thing, is look at your heart, look at your attitude. Okay? A lot of times our focus is on how much, I have to give this much, but rather you have to focus on how much did you receive? How much have you received from God? You see, if you think about how much God has given you, then you could actually give as well. So the principle is, do you have difficult time giving to God? Giving to others? Again, it's probably because you don't realize how much God has given to you. Okay? So, number one, how big is your conception of God? How worthy do you think He is? The more worthier that you see God, then the more easier it becomes to give. How much has He given to you? It's going to be much easier to give back. Okay? Have you ever met people, okay, as we wrap up, have you met people maybe at work, maybe at church, maybe people around you, even your family members? It becomes much easier, right, when they're good to you and they're nice to you, yes? Okay? Like maybe you guys are thinking already, some of you guys are thinking about Christmas presents, perhaps, okay? And you're thinking about, oh, who should I give this gift to? Again, our concept is this coworker that I really like, oh, I want to give them something nice, okay? But do we think the coworker that makes our life miserable, that's always slow, that always gets in the way, or that client, right, who's always complaining, who's saying you're never doing good enough, okay? Are those the people that you want to give to? No, right? Okay, what I'm trying to say is the recipient of your giving, if they're really good, it becomes much easier, yes? And that's what we're talking about. Like, we have to see that God is this ultimate good, and God has been so good to us, so it's easier to give. And the opposite is just as true, right? It's almost impossible to give when this person is making your life miserable. Yes? But that's exactly what God does to us. Do you guys know that? We talk about Jesus giving, Jesus dying on the cross for us. But do you guys know that we to God, what have we done to God? What are we doing to God? If anything, we ignore God, we don't spend time with God, we use God. We're that worst coworker, we're that worst patient to God. And yet, we see that Jesus freely gave everything to us. There's a Bible verse in Romans that says this: very rarely will anyone die for a righteous person, though for a good person, someone might possibly dare to die. Right? If the person is good, maybe I'll do something good. But for the bad person, I will never do something good for that bad person. But God demonstrated His own love for us in this: while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Okay? Christ died for you. Christ died for me. Okay, so this is the amazing thing. Okay? God has been so good to us. Not because we have been good, not because we deserve it, but God has given us everything when we haven't deserved any of it. And we come to God and we go, God, you haven't given me much. I'm gonna give you this much. What you gonna give me? But instead, if you realize, wow, I have been very, very not good towards God. I haven't been very good. I've been an enemy of God. And yet, He is willing to pour everything to me. That's what causes great gratitude in our hearts. If you go to God and say, well, I deserve your love. I did all this stuff for you. I'm giving this much. I'm serving your church. Then there will be never gratitude. You will always give out of bitterness. But if you realize, wow, I have not done anything good in my life. All I have done is spit in His face, and yet He's willing to give freely to me. Paul says it like this, and we'll finish. For you know the grace of our Lord, Jesus Christ, that though He was rich, yet for your sake, my sake, our sake, He became poor, so that you through His poverty might become rich. So we need to have a mental shift in our mind. Not, oh, what can I give to God? What can I do? But rather, wow, how much has he given to me? How great is he that he can love someone like me? How awesome is God that he gave up all of his riches for me. Why? So that I can become rich in him. What an amazing, what an awesome God he is. And out of that, then we can, like David, joyfully say, who am I that I can serve you? Who am I that I could give to you? As you guys know, okay, we talked about last week as well, but this month, okay, we are pledging, okay, for our next year for our church. Again, you guys are totally welcome to give, but we're not obligated. I'm not guilting you. I'm not giving out an obligation, none of that. But you should give. Why? Because you are grateful for what God has given to you. You should give because you believe that in our church, we're doing God's work. There's two different papers. One is for finance. The other one is you want to give your time. Okay? So we're not going to pass it out. We passed it out last week. But if you want to pick that up, it's in the back over there, and you could pick up papers. Okay? And so you could decide, again, you could think about, God, you have given me so much. How can I give back to you? How can I serve you? So as we go into time of reflection, afterwards, Todd's going to come up. He's our treasurer, and he's going to talk about the different ways the money is going to. Okay, so if you guys want to learn more about that. As we go into time of reflection, let's think upon how much God has given to us. And let's be thankful, and let's thanks give back to him.